Today we have the Nissan up in the air and we will be changing all of the important oils.
Snooky's brother.
Hello and welcome back. Today we will be changing 4 important kinds of oil. We will start by replacing the power steering fluid. Then we will move on to the engine oil. And after that we will change the transmission oil. And finally we will change the oil in the rear differential. I'm pretty sure some of the oils in this car have never been changed. But maybe we should take a look at why it is important to change your oils. Modern automotive oils have to live up to a lot of expectations in different scenarios. Since there can't be one oil to take care of all of them, there's a sheer endless supply of different oils and lubricants. A few properties are especially important. The first of these properties is the oil's ability to keep debris in suspense. Through its life cycle, the oil will be circled many thousand times. Over time, debris is collected by the oil. This debris can come from wear, carbonization or unburned fuel residue. It is important that the oil has the ability to keep this debris in suspense, since otherwise it can clog parts of the oil-in system and deprive vital parts of their much-needed lubrication and cooling. Another important property of the oil is its ability to sustain a continuous and stable film of oil. This is especially important for vehicles that are being used in stop-and-go traffic. These vehicles typically suffer from increased blow-by, which leads to a considerable amount of fuel residue in the engine oil. It is important that the engine oil sustains its lubrication properties despite this dilution, otherwise bearing wear and failure can be the result. Another fight your engine oil has to fight is deposits of combustion residue at the upper edge of the piston. Inferior oils might not be able to sustain lubrication, which can lead to increased mechanical wear on the piston. This last example is an indicator of the oil's viscosity. It is especially important during cold starts of the engine. The viscosity is typically indicated on the oil's packaging. The lower the first number, the lower the oil's viscosity at low temperatures. A low viscosity at low temperatures will allow the oil to lubricate the engine properly, even when cold. A higher viscosity oil will take longer to cycle through the engine at low temperatures and won't be able to immediately provide the necessary lubrication. As you can see, the engine oil we are using for the Nissan has a much lower viscosity than the oils for gearbox and differential. At this point, I would like to point out that whilst I know someone who works at Shell, I am in no way sponsored by Shell.
Hey, Shell, if you would like to sponsor me, call me, okay? Call me.
Now, after this short lesson about engine oils, which is totally not sponsored, let's move on to the other parts we will also be changing today. Of course, we need an oil filter, a new screw for the oil pan, including a new gasket ring, and this is an interesting piece, the interior air filter. Now we will start with the power steering fluid, which is in this container. As you can see, it looks rather dark, especially compared to the brake fluid, which is in this one, which is clean and nice. This one is dark and not so nice. Now, as you can see in here, it's really dark and soupy. The way we will change this, you could drain it on a lower point, but that means taking off a hose, which could be on there for 25 years, and maybe it won't go back on, or it will not be liquid tight anymore. That's why I will be taking another method, which is taking a syringe and simply sucking out product from here, replacing it with new one, pumping it through by cycling the pump, and then taking out another bit, putting some more in, and so on until there has been enough exchange so this color is more bright and clean. Now you can see we have taken out most of the fluid that was in this cup, it is mostly empty now. Now it's time to refill it with new product and then cycle it through the pump in order to get more of the new product mixed up with the old product. And then we will take out some more and maybe repeat the process one more time in order to have a good exchange in the fluid. We did fill in the new oil now. As you can see, it has a nice red color, which is bright and clear. And now we will have to cycle it. Now we went full lock left and right a few times, which will have cycled the product. And you can see the color is much darker now again. So we will take that out again and continue. I repeated the same cycle now a few more times, and you can see it looks nice and fresh now. So we are done with the power steering fluid, and now we will move on to the engine oil. Next is the engine oil. We will simply open the drain plug on the oil sump, and then we have to take out the oil filter, which is located in this totally convenient position down here. That's the oil filter. After that, we will simply pour in new oil. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Let's get into it. Now, before you go and lay under the car, make sure it is secured. I have my car jacked up. It is standing on jack stands. And additionally, I have another car jack at the front and at the back as a double safety measure, should it be necessary. Be safe. Now, I'm pretty sure I won't get the splash right. It's always either too short or too far. Let's see. Oh, that was pretty decent. Ooh, yeah. You can see the old bolt. It is old and this ring is pretty munched, so it's good that we are replacing it, I would say. Pretty slushy stuff. I was hoping for slightly cleaner oil, but this one does not look clean. We'll just let that run for a while until it's entirely empty and take care of the oil filter in the meantime. I don't have fancy oil removing tools. I only have this sling type, which you basically just wrap around the filter and then you hold this at an angle and it will wrangle it out. But it doesn't always work and it needs some space in order to work, and there is not a lot of space down there. So let's see how it goes. I have been working on the oil filter for a while now. As you can see, I got desperate in the end and even punched a hole in it with a screwdriver in the hopes of being able to unscrew it that way. Sadly, the material is just too soft and gave way, and now it's just hanging there and I can't get the thing off because it's so tight in there. Which I guess means I will see you next weekend. Welcome back. It's now exactly 1 week later and we are trying to tackle the oil filter once again. You can see the oil filter is down here and I already started unscrewing it. I now bought some special tools. They look like this. and you can simply slide them onto the filter, and this will allow a much easier way to get them off the engine. I'm still wondering who thought about this position for the oil filter, but hey, engineering in the 90s. Here we go. This is the old filter. Now that the old filter is out, we can prepare the new filter, which has a welded on piece, so you can use a normal wrench tool. To prepare it, we will just dip our finger in some motor oil and get this ring slightly oily. Now we can throw it on the engine. Now the new filter is in there. It's just hand tight for now, but we will tighten it up now, and then we are almost ready. Now I just had the engine running for a second, or for 3 seconds. Not sure if you can see it here. It's not entirely full yet, it seems. And another week has passed. I missed some tools for the differential and the gearbox. That's why I waited another week to continue with those. Finally, I managed to get working on it, and it turns out all of the screws on the gearbox and the differential are rather tight. I managed to break the one here at the rear loose now. This screw on the rear differential was very tight, and I used a bit of a hillbilly method to break it loose, but it actually worked. Don't tell anyone, but I will show you how I did it. 1 second. So normally what you need is a 13mm nut like this one to open up the screws on differential and gearbox. Okay, I shouldn't really tell you about this, but okay. I took the ratchet, put it in there. Just the ratchet, no socket on there, because that's a 1/2 inch and you need 13mm. It's not really the same, but it will fit. And then I took the jack, and then I simply started jacking the car jack up until I heard a braking sound, which could either be the ratchet, a broken screw, or maybe you broke it loose. In my case, I broke it loose, which was the most positive case. And now I can get to work on it. For the lower bolt, that's the bolt where you drain the differential. So this is the bolt where you drain the differential. For that bolt, I could simply use this impact gun, which worked fine. Also with the correct 13mm socket. So I did it the right way on that one. And now we can continue draining the differential oil. Before draining the diff, I used engine cleaner and a soft metal wire brush to clean the differential housing around the areas I would be working on to avoid debris from finding its way into the differential. This is the filler plug. Okay, I will clean these up afterwards. Now it's time to take off the drain plug. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, that's much better than I thought actually. It's still, as you can see, it's pretty bright still. Now here you can see the drain plug, and there are some metal pieces on it, and a bit of sludge, but considering the age of the car and considering that this is mostly sludge, I would say it's okay. After cleaning the plugs, both the filler plug and the drain plug, I will now put in the drain plug again, since the differential is entirely empty at this point. I will just hand tighten it for now and then torque it to spec after filling the differential. And then it's time to fill up the differential. Typically you would have some fancy hardware to do this, and I'm going to use a syringe, so it will take some time, I'm afraid, but it's all I have and I think it will work just as well. So this is the page in the manual for the differential oil change, and as you can see, we will now fill up the differential through the filler plug, and then we will simply put our hand in there and feel for the volume of oil that's in there. The documentation states it will be 1.2 to 1.4 liters of differential oil. And yeah, I think it will take a while with my syringe, but I will just get to it and then we shall see how it goes. This is the syringe I will be using. It's just a normal plastic syringe, which is actually made for oil or oil purposes, with a plastic hose, and I will simply fill the syringe and then try to fill the differential. You can already see the thickness of this oil by how slowly it enters the syringe. I need to use a lot of force to force it in there, and then it just flows very slowly. That's what a 75W90 will do for you. My syringe is as full as I can get it now, and I will stick the tube in there and just start pumping. I think I should have chosen a bigger hose or a different syringe. Okay, that's the first step. I think I will do this many times until I'm done. This was the first syringe, and now we are at the second. I guess it will take me about 12 syringes. So I will speed up this process for you through the magic of movie making. Okay, quick status update. The first bottle is now empty. This is 1 liter. Considering my spills everywhere over there, I guess approximately 800 milliliters are, or maybe 900 milliliters are in the diff now. So I will start using this one. I just put my finger in and there is, I would say, maybe a fingertip still missing. So I will just keep filling until it's all there. Okay, after a multitude of syringes, I would say around 20 of them, it is filled now. You can see it's running out, running down here a bit. And if I dip my finger in there, then immediately I get a wet finger. So that's all done. I will close it up now and torque it to spec, and then we should be fine. I did use around 1.45 liters now, so it's just on spec. I went with 45 Newton meters now. The handbook states 39 to 59 Newton meters, but I prefer to stay on the lower side because I don't think it's necessary to tighten these too heavily. So there you have it. The differential is done now and we can move on to the gearbox. Yes, it is yet another week later. Laying under the car, I really struggled to open the plugs on the gearbox. That's why I decided to rent a proper car lift for better access. In a standing up position, I was easily able to open the filler plug on the gearbox with a torque wrench. Since this plug is in a tight space once again, I used the 1/2-inch drive of the tool without the 13mm socket. After that, I got to work on the drain plug. Now the impact wrench I use here has a turning force of 1000 Newton meters. I had to run it on max power to open the plug. The previous owner must have been Hagrid or possibly the Arnold. The old gearbox oil sadly was exactly that, old. It had a significantly dark coloration with quite a lot of metal pieces in it. Here you can see the small metal pieces that were stuck to the magnet on the drain plug. My estimate is that this still was the first gearbox oil. After cleaning the drain plug, I closed up the lower part of the gearbox. The recommended torque spec for the drain plug is 25 to 34 Newton meters. Once again, I went with a value around 30 Newton meters. When it came to filling the gearbox, I used basically the same method as for the differential. To ease the filling of the syringe, I preheated the oil to room temperature and shortened the hole significantly. This greatly facilitated the whole process. dripping out of the gearbox, I stopped filling. I then screwed the filler plug back in, torqued it to specification, and gave the gearbox housing a thorough clean to facilitate the discovery of leaks, should there be any. With that, the gearbox oil was taken care of. On the drive home, the car was running 10 times smoother than before. At least my imagination tells me so. There it is, the Nissan is back in its garage. Nothing seems to be leaking currently, which is a good sign to me. All of the important oils have been changed now. That includes the power steering fluid, the engine oil, the gearbox oil, and the differential oil. And yeah, I had some hiccups. It took about 4 times as long as I expected, but it just showed me again that you have to have the right tools and the right location to work. Sometimes you just need to switch it up or try something new in order to get it working. Now it worked. I'm happy. I guess this will be a slightly longer episode, but maybe it's interesting to you as well. Maybe you are planning to change your oils as well. In that case, I hope it can be helpful to you. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Consider subscribing if you liked the video, and have a great day.